je veux l'indépendance de mes enfants. Je dis, mais oui, le monsieur, il n'a rien à voir dans cette histoire-là. Mais c'est un Frani, c'est un Français. Pour lui, c'est un Français, il faut l'abattre. Moi, j'ai été accusé, soi-disant, être l'instigateur. Ça veut dire que c'est moi qui a ordonné de faire le coup. Parce que je suis un des leaders d'un parti qui est très très dangereux pour eux. Alors voilà, il faut m'éliminer.
The guilty man arrested is a certain Charlie Ching, founder of Tetoto Tupuna. Charlie Ching, who says he's done nothing wrong, wears an innocent smile. He has refused to accept responsibility for the attack on the post office or the murder of Pierre Dangeljohn.
In Nautania prison, Charlie Ching's commando took a final stand.
Arrivé à Nautania, on a refusé de rentrer dans la cellule. On a dit, si vous ne remettez pas les lits, on ne va pas rentrer dans la cellule. Alors ça fait qu'ils ont appelé les gendarmes. Et les gendarmes sont venus. Alors il y a les gars de l'autre bâtiment qui ont vu ça, ils ont pitié de nous. L'émeute vient de là-bas. Alors ça a été un grand dégât. Hein. Il y a eu beaucoup de dégâts à la prison.
The prisoners have organized a mutiny.
Et vers 5 heures du matin, les CRS sont venus là-bas, ils ont tiré des grenades lacrymogènes dans la prison pour chasser tout le monde dehors, quoi. Et tout le monde sont sur la toiture.
16h30 à la prison de Tahiti, où un groupe de détenus a pu prendre le contrôle de l'établissement.
after killing a prison guard, a family man with many children. 6 other guards were taken hostage.
6 autres surveillants ont été pris en otage.
J'ai mis un drapeau tahitien pour dire à la France que nous sommes là, pour dire d'arrêter votre bombe et de remettre l'indépendance dans la main du peuple. Et on a fait un petit banderole, on a écrit la loi française, c'est de la merde.
Est-ce qu'il y a des négociations qui sont engagées?
Il est difficile d'avoir des négociations du fait que nous n'avons personne en face de nous, sinon un groupe d'excités.
On les a entendus parler, ils faisaient des références politiques à l'indépendance.
Uniquement. Alors, dans ce domaine-là, je suis complètement démuni.
Oui.
Si c'était une requête sur l'alimentation, sur le régime intérieur, je pourrais intervenir. Mais sur des questions d'indépendance, comme vous entendez, je ne peux rien, absolument rien.
Merci, Nedo Salmon.
On entend 4 rafales. Ta 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 ta. J'ai dit ça, c'est pas du pétard, c'est de vraies cartouches, ça.
Et là, ils ont tiré. J'ai vu devant moi tomber 3 balles sur lui. J'ai pitié. Et les prisonniers, ils ont tous mis à terre. Et là, j'ai descendu aux cellules, parce que c'est terminé.
Charlie Ching, leader of the world's only anti-nuclear terrorist cell, served 5 years in prison. Since his release, he's stood for president. He came last, with less than 1% of the vote.
If you would rather run a referendum today on independence in French Polynesia, I think you'd have 20% of yes and 80% of no. Why? Because people are not stupid over here, they know where the money comes from.
On continue cette lutte parce que nous sommes sûrs et certains que demain, nous l'aurons cette indépendance. La France ne peut pas nous dominer éternellement. Elle est à 20 000 km, elle est obligée de rentrer chez elle et de nous ficher la paix chez nous.
I mean, they argued that, France had no business testing a weapon that was principally designed to defend it in Europe, in the Pacific, which was very far away. Do you think that argument is credible?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't even begin to understand it.
What I said, or?
No, I don't even begin to understand the argument.
That France shouldn't, that if France is testing a bomb designed to defend its own territory in Europe, that it shouldn't test that weapon on the other side of the world.
Why?
Because it's not France.
Yes, it is.
It's somewhere else.
No, it's in France. The French nuclear weapons were tested in France. They were always tested in France. British nuclear weapons were sometimes tested in Australia. We didn't do that. We always tested on nuclear weapons on our French national territory. Not every country has done so.
Nom de code, Atkinson, force 0. Date, du 25 au 29 octobre 1983.
Governments in this region couldn't say to France, we don't like nuclear weapons, so stop it. I mean, they did say that, but you couldn't get any further than that. And France would say, well, it's our national security, we make those decisions, sod off. They could say, we're concerned about the health and environment of our region, let us take a look.
Ce qui est terrible, c'est que y a des pseudo-scientifiques qui vous racontent n'importe quoi ou qui prennent un chiffre d'un endroit et qui en tirent des conclusions complètement erronées.
There's a lot of cancer, there's a lot of health problems in French Polynesia and across the Pacific from that.
It's like a huge nuclear waste dump in the middle of the ocean.
An atoll, which is really the top of a volcano, and they drill holes in it and then blow up nuclear bombs in it. It doesn't sound to me like a very good place to do that.
They're just turning that island, that atoll, into just Swiss cheese. They're blowing it to smithereens.
Nous ne pardonnons rien, nous n'acceptons rien, et je n'accepte rien qui n'ait été strictement, totalement vérifié.
C'est quand même pas possible de laisser dire ces âneries indéfiniment. Il faut prendre des scientifiques compétents pour qu'ils viennent voir.
In October 1983, France invited a small team of scientists from Australia and New Zealand to survey Mururoa.
I was really excited about the possibilities of going to Mururoa. We were all nervous about what we could find, particularly Hugh Atkinson. I mean, he was, as the leader of the group, had a substantial responsibility, and he felt it. We were a mixed group, but mixed in that there were 3 biologists or 3 biological related people and 2 geological related people.
Wednesday, 26th October 1983, 7:30 a.m. Low-level flight around atoll with commentary on developments, structures and activities.
I spent about a couple of hours in the water on the southern reef flat. I collected samples. We discovered cracks and crevasses. And what it did for me was to confirm that there had been substantial subsidence on the reef flat.
Friday, 28th October, sampling program. Sailed at 1 a.m. for early morning plankton collection, outside reef and ocean fishing. Vegetation and soil samples obtained from 7-kilometre living zone.
And each test site is a vaporized sphere where the rock has just totally disappeared. If any of the cracks that we see in the limestones, if any of them get into the volcanics, then it increases the potential of leakage of encapsulated high-level nuclear waste from within those spheres and into the limestones. And as far as I'm concerned, if any leakage occurred and got into the limestones, it was effectively in the ocean.
Gas trapped in coral sampled from living zone. Preparation and packing of samples, division between mission and French laboratories. Conclusions. Traces of fallout from atmospheric tests are detectable only at levels far below those of health significance.
Venting of gaseous and volatile fission products from the underground test sites does occur at the time of detonation.
Waste management at Mururoa was poor. It is now very good.
Et je savais très bien que si des scientifiques dignes de ce nom regardaient la situation, ils ne pourraient que constater qu'on avait beaucoup moins de radioactivité à Mururoa qu'en Bretagne ou en Auvergne. D'ailleurs, si on appliquait les normes qu'ont imposées les écologistes, on devrait évacuer la Bretagne et le Massif central. Donc la Nouvelle-Zélande pouvait dormir sur ses 2 oreilles.
The spin doctors that took the report may have taken that tack of putting a glow on the report because the biological research done by the New Zealanders quite clearly indicated what it said. The geological evidence, which related to venting, to the integrity of the atoll, to subsidence, to the potential for leakage, probably was construed in the context of, well, it'll occur if it occurs many hundreds of years into the future. So it doesn't carry the same weight.
All the terms that were agreed to were in fact followed, and where it came to a sensitive defence area, yes, we knew we'd be constrained there, and we were.
Mais il y a quand même certaines zones où ils ne pouvaient pas aller.
Oui, c'est exact. Il y avait une partie qui avait été un peu contaminée, enfin même contaminée par des essais aériens de premier type, et donc sur lesquels il y avait effectivement du plutonium. Mais c'était une zone, effectivement, où on n'allait plus normalement. Enfin, on y allait éventuellement, mais alors on n'a peut-être pas fait trop de zèle pour leur montrer ce coin-là.
The short-term scenario is that it leaks within 10-20 years. The long-term scenario is not that it could, but that it will. It is highly probable that leakage will occur in the time frame 500 to 1,000 years.
Nom de code, Rainbow Warrior, force inconnue, date 10 juin 1985.
Former 400-ton fishing trawler Rainbow Warrior looked a tragic sight today as it lay tilted against Marsden Wharf after being rocked by two separate explosions.
Now the Rainbow Warrior, one crew member dead, lies awash in several fathoms of water.
No one has so far claimed responsibility for the attack on Greenpeace.
Le ministre de la Défense, au mois de mars de 1985, m'a convoqué pour me demander de faire quelque chose pour empêcher que Greenpeace ne fasse la campagne projetée contre les essais du mois de juillet en Polynésie.
This was to be the last port before weeks at sea at Mororoa. Time for last-minute planning.
L'esprit, c'était finalement qu'il faut absolument empêcher que Greenpeace ne puisse faire sa campagne médiatique. Vous, services secrets, essayez de trouver quelque chose. Voilà, bon.
This is the first ship that I certainly know of that has been blown up in New Zealand. The rear of the Rainbow Warrior was considerably underwater, particularly at high tide. The people on board the ship were taken back to the police station to be interviewed, and it was at that stage that it was discovered that a person was missing.
Fernando was dead. He'd drowned. So we lost someone who was a colleague and a friend, which was the first thing. And then there was this kind of shocking response to what Greenpeace was doing. And it was something that happened to New Zealand. It didn't just happen to Greenpeace.
The following day, it had been discovered that watchmen had been keeping an eye out on boats in Okahu Bay, and on the night of the bombing they had seen a suspicious activity involving a camper van, Newman's camper van, LB 8945. This had picked up a diver off a Zodiac boat in Okahu Bay and driven off. The camper van had been hired in the name of Alan and Sophie Turange, a couple on a Swiss passport but with a Paris address. The inquiries we made in Switzerland indicated that the passports were false. The first major breakthrough of the investigation came on the Friday morning when Newman's at Auckland Airport reported the camper van being returned. The Turange couple were still at the airport. They were waiting for their refund, their cheque refund, because they had returned the camper van early, and that gave us time to get to the airport and locate them.